Alara Voss had learned to stand still, while her whole world fell apart. She was standing that way now, in the middle of the Blackthorn Great Hall, while every eye in the pack turned to watch her unravel. Alpha King Damien Blackthorn stood at the top of the stone steps, tall and cold, dressed in the deep gray of his rank. He did not look at her the way he used to. He looked at her the way a man looks at something he has already decided to throw away. "I release you," he said. His voice did not shake. "Our bond ends here. I am to marry Lady Sarah of the Ashwood Pack, for the good of this kingdom." The words hit Alara like ice water. A mate rejection was not just heartbreak. It was a wound that cut through the body and the spirit at once. She felt her knees weaken, felt the low, involuntary whimper rise in her throat before she forced it down. She would not cry in front of these people. She would not give them that. "Damien," she whispered, so only he could hear. "We had 5 years. You said I was your whole heart." "That was before I understood what a king owes his people," he said. "Ashwood's alliance will protect our borders. You understand duty, Alara. You always have." She did understand duty. She had spent 5 years serving this pack quietly, without complaint, healing the wounded after battles, keeping the kitchens running during long winters, standing beside Damien at every council meeting, even when the older wolves sneered at her humble bloodline. She had given him everything a mate could give. And now he was folding her away like a letter he no longer wanted to read. The council members whispered among themselves. Some looked at her with pity. Others looked satisfied, as if they had been waiting for this moment since the day Damien first claimed her. Alara lifted her chin. She would not beg. "Then I release you as well," she said, loud enough for the whole hall to hear. "I hope Lady Sarah understands duty as well as I do." She turned and walked out of the hall, her back straight, her hands steady, until she was through the doors and out of sight. Only then did she let herself run. She ran through the training yards, past the stables, out through the gate, and into the dark forest beyond Blackthorn's walls. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out beneath her, until she collapsed at the edge of a stream with no pack, no title, and no home. She did not know how long she lay there, hours maybe. The cold seeped into her bones, and her wolf, wounded by the broken bond, whimpered somewhere deep inside her chest. She thought, for a moment, that this was how it would end, alone in the woods, forgotten by the only home she had known. Then she heard footsteps. She tried to rise, to defend herself, but her body would not obey. A tall figure knelt beside her, and she found herself looking up into a pair of steady amber eyes that did not belong to Damien. "You're on Raven's Hollow land," the man said. His voice was low and calm, without the coldness she had grown used to. "You're hurt. Can you stand?" "I don't need help," she said, though her voice cracked on the words. "You're shaking," he said simply. "That's not pride. That's a broken bond." "I know what it looks like." She stared at him, too tired to argue. Slowly, she recognized him. Chaol Ravenshallow, the alpha of the rival kingdom. The wolf Damien had spent years warning his pack about, calling him dangerous, calling him an enemy to be feared. He did not look like an enemy now. He looked like the only steady thing in a world that had just come apart. "Why would you help me?" she asked. "I'm Blackthorn." "You were," Chaol said. "Right now, you're just someone who needs shelter." He lifted her carefully, as though she weighed nothing, and carried her toward the lights of Ravenshallow in the distance. She should have been afraid. She had been raised to fear this kingdom, to see its people as rivals, and its alpha as a threat. But exhaustion and grief made it hard to hold on to old fears, and so she let herself be carried, let herself be brought into the halls of the kingdom she had once been taught to hate. The healers of Ravenshallow tended to her for 3 days. When she woke fully on the 4th morning, she found herself in a warm room with sunlight coming through the window, and no chains, no guards, no demands. She was given food, given clean clothes, and given something she had not expected: respect. Chaol visited her that afternoon. He did not ask about Damien. He did not ask her to explain herself. He simply asked if she was recovering well, and when she nodded, he said, "Good. Ravenshallow could use someone with your kind of strength, if you ever want a place here." "I have no strength left," she said honestly. He took it all. You survived a mate rejection alone in the forest, at night, without dying of the wound, Kale said. Most wolves don't survive that. You did. That is not weakness, Elara. That is strength most alphas never have to test. No one had spoken to her that way before. In Blackthorn, she had always been the quiet one, useful but never celebrated, present but never truly seen. Here, in the halls of the kingdom she had been taught to fear, a stranger looked at her and saw someone worth valuing. She stayed. At first, it was only meant to be until she healed. Then it became weeks, and the weeks became months. She trained with Ravenshallow's warriors, not because anyone forced her, but because she wanted to feel strong again, wanted to feel like her body belonged to her, and not to the memory of a man who had thrown her away. She learned to fight, to track, to lead small groups on patrol. She discovered, slowly, that the quiet, obedient woman she had been in Blackthorn was only a small part of who she truly was. Kale watched her grow, and never once tried to rush her. He was patient in a way Damien had never been, steady in a way that made her feel safe rather than small. He asked her opinion in council meetings. He listened when she disagreed with him. He never once made her feel like her worth depended on being useful. It was during a long winter, nearly a year after she arrived, that Kale discovered something about her that even she had not fully understood. Elara carried a rare bloodline gift, passed down through her mother's line, one that allowed her to sense danger before it arrived, a gift some old wolves called foresight, and others simply called a blessing. It was the kind of gift that could shift the balance of power between kingdoms, the kind of gift Damien would have used without asking her, without caring what she wanted. Kale did not do that. "This is yours," he told her, when she confessed her fear that he would want to use her gift for war. "Not mine, not the kingdom's. If you ever choose to use it to help us, that will be your choice. I will never demand it of you." It was in that moment, more than any other, that Elara understood the bond forming between them was different from anything she had known before. When it finally settled into place, weeks later, quiet and sure, it did not knock her off her feet the way her bond with Damien once had. It simply felt right, like coming home to a place she had never known she was searching for. "I want to be here," she told him. "Not because I have nowhere else to go. Because I choose this. I choose you." "Then I choose you too," Kale said. "For exactly who you are, not for what you can give me." Word of the new alpha pair spread through the northern territories slowly, then quickly. Ravenshallow, once seen as the lesser kingdom, grew stronger with each season, its alliances widening, its warriors better trained, its people more united than they had been in decades. And at Kale's side stood Elara, no longer the quiet shadow of a rejected mate, but a queen in her own right, respected by warriors and elders alike. It was almost a year to the day since her rejection, when the two kingdoms were called to a rare joint council, a meeting meant to settle old territorial disputes between Blackthorn and Ravenshallow before they turned into open conflict. Elara knew, the moment the invitation arrived, that she would have to face Damien again. She was not afraid this time. She wore Ravenshallow's colors, deep green and silver, with the mark of the kingdom's crown at her collar, a symbol given only to those recognized as equal partners to the Alpha. She walked into the meeting hall beside Kale, her spine straight, her eyes clear, and she watched the exact moment Damien's composure cracked. He had heard the rumors, of course. Everyone had. But hearing rumors, and seeing the truth standing in front of him, were different things entirely. The woman he had discarded a year ago stood before him now, calm and radiant, not broken, not begging, but crowned. "Elara," he said, his voice unsteady for the first time since she had known him. "You look well." "I am well," she said simply. There was no anger in her voice, no bitterness, only quiet certainty. The council meeting proceeded, and Elara spoke when it was her place to speak, offering insight that Kale valued and the other elders respected. She watched Damien struggle to reconcile the woman before him with the memory he had carried, the memory of someone quiet and easily dismissed. That woman no longer existed, if she ever truly had. After the meeting, Damien approached her alone, away from the others. "I made a mistake," he said. "I see that now. The bond, it can be restored, if you're willing. We could—" "No," Ilara said gently, but firmly. You didn't make a mistake, Damien. You made a choice. And I have made mine. Ilara, please. I was wrong. I know that now. I believe you, she said, but knowing it now doesn't undo what happened then. I spent 5 years shrinking myself to fit into the shape you wanted. I won't do that again. Not for you, not for anyone. Kale doesn't know the woman I knew, Damien said, a last, desperate edge in his voice. He doesn't know who you really are. No, Ilara agreed. He knows who I am now. That's the difference. You knew who I used to be, and you decided it wasn't enough. He met who I actually am, and he never once asked me to be anything less. Damien had no answer for that. He stood there, the alpha king of a kingdom that was slowly losing its standing among the northern packs, watching the woman he had rejected walk away from him for the second time, this time by her own choice, rather than his cruelty. Ilara returned to Kale's side, and together they left the hall, leaving Blackthorn's future uncertain and Ravenshallow's future bright. That night, standing on the balcony of the home she now called her own, Ilara thought about the woman she had been a year ago, broken and alone in the forest, certain that her life was over. She thought about how wrong that certainty had been. Kale joined her, wrapping an arm gently around her shoulders. Regrets? He asked. None, she said, and meant it fully. He broke something in me that I thought could never be fixed. But breaking isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the place where something better begins. I'm glad you found your way here, Kale said. I'm glad you were the one who found me, she answered. Below them, the lights of Ravenshallow glowed steady against the night, a kingdom made stronger by a woman who had once believed herself unworthy of being kept, and who now stood as proof that a broken heart, given time and the right hands to hold it, could grow into something far stronger than it had ever been before. She was no longer the wolf who had been discarded. She was the queen who had chosen her own crown, and worn it well.